So today on my workbench, I have a Kenwood KD-40R direct drive turntable. So this turntable is a first for me because it's the first turntable I've ever bought on eBay. So there's certainly nothing wrong with eBay, but turntables are very fragile, and shipping them without their factory packaging can be pretty dicey. So unless it's done very well and very professionally, it might not arrive in as many pieces as it was when it left where it was. So the real reason I was interested in this particular one was that the seller was only about 15 miles away from me. So I figured, hey, I'll message him and say, I'll come pick it up. And he messaged me back and said, no. All right, so I bid on it and ended up getting it for next to nothing with free shipping. So I'm not sure how he made any money on that, but it did arrive in pretty good condition. So the primary problem with it, as described, was that the head shell is broken, and it certainly is. So the real reason I was interested in this KD-40R and the reason why it popped up as a saved search on eBay was I already had one. So I've been searching for parts on eBay for this KD-40R that I already had. So the problem with this turntable was that the motor, while it worked, the speed was very unstable. It would seem to run normally for quite a while, and then it would just wildly go off and slow down or speed up. So I replaced all of the electrolytic capacitors on all of the boards in this, and it made no difference, and I just put it away and kind of gave up. I thought, well, maybe some of those boards might be available on eBay, and that's why I had the search. So this one has a perfectly fine tone arm and a perfectly fine cartridge and head shell on it. So my new one has a fairly decent lid with intact hinges, but there are problems with the tone arm. So it looks like from the marks on top of it that the tone arm may have been hit with something. There's a broken piece right here, and actually when I move it over, it doesn't feel very good either. So I think I should be able to make one good turntable out of these two flawed ones. So before I get too into it, I've checked the speed stability on the new turntable, and it seems just fine. So a good candidate for a transplant. So I've unscrewed the base, and from underneath, the tone arm on the new turntable, there doesn't seem to be anything obviously wrong with it, but it is binding a little bit, particularly when it contacts the switch here, but I'm not going to worry about that. I think that the plinth, the base of the other turntable, the one I already had, is in better condition than this one. And I think it's easier to swap out the electronic parts than it is to change over the tone arm, because then I wouldn't have to unsolder the tone arm wires. I'm going to remove the electronics from this to transplant into my old turntable. So there's two screws here, some friction washers to pull off here, a few screws here, removing the motor, this junction piece, and the transformer. So the screws are no problem, but getting these friction washers off is a bit of a pain, and I'm afraid I might damage the circuit board. So I thought I might get away without doing any soldering or desoldering, but I think I'm just going to desolder this board wiring from here. So the wire that's soldered to this left terminal of the motor is soldered to the left side here, so that's easy to remember. So I got that assembly out in essentially one piece. I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity though to service the motor, so it just pulls apart. Just going to give this a cleanup with some isopropyl alcohol and Q-tips, and then re-lubricate it with 3-in-1 motor oil. So I'll do the same to my original turntable, and installation is going to be the reverse of removal. So I've got it back together, the plinth and the platter and the tone arm from my old turntable, and all the electronics from the new one. So does it run? It does. So now I want to do the fine speed adjustment. So I'm going to center the speed adjustment here on the front panel, go all the way to one side, and go 1, 2, 3, 4.5 strokes or so. So I'm going to go back about 2 1/4 then. So 1, 2. It's about centered there. Okay. So if I look at the 33 speed, it's a little bit fast there. And the 45 is also a little bit fast. So if we look at the base plate, there are actually 2 sets of adjustments. This one in the middle, which is where the motor would be, actually adjusts the speed of the motor, whereas these here in the front actually adjust whether that indicator on the front is centered or not. So once these are set properly, then we can set this so that indicates that it is running at the right speed. Okay, so there are 2 holes in the motor board, here and here, to adjust the speed. So the 45 speed adjustment is one that's further from me. So I'm going to put a small screwdriver into that hole and get it seated. Give that a little tweak. So I think that's probably almost as close as I'm going to get it. So I'm going to put the screwdriver in the hole that's closer to me. This is the 33 speed. So it's a little bit slow. I'm making it worse. I'm going to turn it back the other way. And that's pretty good. So the problem with the old turntable was that the speed was not consistent. It would vary from day to day or even just change while you were playing a record. So I did my initial adjustments yesterday, so it is now the next day, and the speed seems to be pretty stable. However, the speed indicator is wrong here. So it says it's running too slow, I believe. So I need to adjust that. So I'm going to adjust it so this green light only is on. So I got it, just go a little bit more the other way. The other one's going to come on. Go back and split the difference, and that looks pretty good. And do the same for 45 too. So in some of the other clips I showed a couple of different cartridges on this head shell, but what I decided to settle on was this Audio-Technica AT3600L with an aftermarket generic conical stylus. But this is actually an improvement over the original conical stylus, which tracks at 3 to 3.5 grams. This one tracks at just about 2 grams. So I think it sounds great, and I think it's a good choice for this turntable. It was a little difficult to align, but it looks okay now. So it may have seemed like a lot to meld these 2 turntables together, but overall it actually went pretty quickly and pretty smoothly. So I did also sand and polish the dust cover, so while it is definitely an improvement, I'm not 100% satisfied with the results. It's still kind of cloudy, but this turntable now works very well. So sometimes you can't fix everything, so these 2 turntables were very good candidates, complement each other very well with the parts that they had. And now I've got one fully functioning turntable that hopefully someone will enjoy listening to for years to come. So once again, thanks for listening.